In today's episode, we're going to talk about the soft life for Black women. Protect your peace, set some boundaries, and just slow down a little bit. So let me give you kind of a little bit of what our goal today on what we're going to accomplish in this episode. Okay, we're going to redefine what soft life truly means for a Black woman over 40. Not just the luxury and aesthetics, but deep peace and intentional living. So here we are. Welcome back, ladies. Welcome back to the Spring Reset series. Okay, why Black women deserve soft life. We're going to break free of the struggle culture and the strong Black woman trope. We're throwing that away, okay? What soft life is not. It's not about laziness or avoiding responsibilities. It's about living with more ease and intentions. And I like that. I like that. I feel like that's where I am at my point in life, me as a woman in, my late 40s. So, what to expect in this episode, how to protect your peace, how to set boundaries, and how to slow down in this fast paced world. But before we get into all that, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I'm doing good. I know you didn't ask, but I'm here to share. I just want to know how you're doing. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, leave it in the comments. If you're listening to it on the streaming platforms like Apple, Spotify, so forth and so on, leave your comments wherever you can. You can also come on over to Instagram and Facebook if you just want to have a good conversation. I like to connect with each and every one of you, and I'm just enjoying the moment. But just to kind of share a little bit about me in regards to this soft life for us Black women, I feel like soft life doesn't mean like I mentioned earlier about aesthetics and all the different things. It's more about making your life as easy and smooth as possible. So for me, setting boundaries, making sure I'm not doing things that I don't want to do. I don't have a problem with saying no. Let me tell you, over the weekend, and this might be so minute, but I have a girlfriend where she is just so, how do you call it? I don't know. I can't think of the name. I can just see it. She's like so princess treatment. That's what it is. Where she's like, "Can you go get that for me, please? Can you do this for me, please? Can you do that for me? Can you go up there, please?" And I'm like, "No, no, I'm not doing that because you can do the same. What you're asking me to do, you can go do it. You just don't want to do it because you feel that you can ask somebody else to do it for you. No, we're not doing that. I said either you can go get it yourself or you can wait till we get to wherever we're going and you can get you a fresh one." And she was like, "You're right. I'll go get me a fresh one." Because that's called setting boundaries. You just not, I mean, yeah, you can help your friend out, yes, but I know my friend. I know my friend. She was being bossy mode and it's like setting boundaries. No, I'm not doing that for you. No. But that probably was a bad example, but there's other examples when you got people that actually walk all over you and you're at a point now where like you're not walking over me anymore. It's about me. I've been there for you. So now it's no. And it's a hard no. So setting and slowing down. I sit back and think about how we work our jobs and we get up in the morning, get dressed, get these kids ready. If you have a spouse or you live with someone, you're just going, 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 and you don't even take time for yourself. I'm at a point now in my life where, my daughters are definitely older now. So morning routines are definitely in full effect versus before, I didn't do that. And I'm not saying because you have children, you can't have a morning routine, but sometimes you don't take that time out for yourself. But I know we want to get that good rest and sleep to the bitter end till we got to get up. But like muscle memory, if you can get up a little bit early, I wish I would have done this. So right now, I'm not preaching what I did, but I will say these last few months, my daughter has a couple more months left in high school, and I've been getting up early to just pour into myself. Just pour into myself and allow myself to be me before I tend to her or before I even tend to the world. Like right now, I took a couple of days off for work just so I can just pour into myself. Normally, I take a vacation around March. I did not take my vacation. So I just took a couple of days off to kind of pour into myself. Now, later on in the year, I will take me a vacation. And later on at the end of the year, I will take a vacation. I want to start a new tradition where I take a vacation at the end of the year, if it's early December, late December, where I can start the new year over, but yet I will still have a fresh start come like springtime. Just making my own thing. It may stick, it may not stick, but who knows? We'll see. So let's first talk about mindset shift, unlearning the hustle and grind mentality. You know, we're going to focus on a new concept, the soft hustle, how to be ambitious without burning out. I like that because you still have to do things. We still have to make sure things are getting done, if it's with the family, if it's just with yourself, if it's with going to work, and if you have a business, you still have to get things done. So instead of us just hustling and grinding, keep pushing and not tending to ourselves, and we have to slow down a little bit and pour into ourselves. So what does that look like? Rest is productive. Black women are often taught to work twice as hard, but can we work smarter and not harder? Yes, we can. We can still put the same work in, but just be a little bit more strategic. I'm going to tell on myself right now. As you guys know, I am a content creator. I have this podcast, I have a YouTube, and I have socials. In addition to that, I have a full time job, and I am a caretaker and I am a mother. I am very fortunate enough at this time in my life where I want to pour more into my online space that my daughters are older now. So they need me, but they don't need me to the aspect of where I can't do the things that I want to do, the things that fill me up. So yes, I have all these different components with I Am Kelly B and We Age Graceful. Now I can just work smarter. I don't have to do as much. I don't have to be every which way. When it comes to I Am Kelly B and when it comes to my family, I can do things that make Kelly happy. So you can still get all the things done without doing it in a more stressful way, if that makes any sense. We'll run back that again. We can do the slow success model. What is that? Why taking your time? Why taking your time leads to better results in business, career, and personal growth. Okay, I can speak for myself when it comes to career. Slow success. Sometimes we tend to want to do, and work so hard at these jobs to move up in our career and to make a name for ourselves and make more money, because that's normally the goal and things like that, or just have personal fulfillment in what you do. Me personally, I recently got a promotion at work and I took my time. I really feel like where I'm going now is going to be my landing spot, where I'm going to ride this horsey out, because I know what I'm going to get myself into, and I know where I am now, where I'm approaching 50, and I know what my bandwidth is. Some of these jobs require you to, be heavy, involved and using a little bit more brain power and bandwidth, versus some jobs, you don't have to do that. So changing your mind shift and knowing that you don't have to do it all. You can do just enough. Okay. And then for personal growth, I'm knowing now where I am. I've done so much for myself, made so much sacrifices in my life to be where I am today. And I had to give myself some credit. And I want you to give yourself some credit. Because sometimes we sit back and we'll look at somebody else and don't realize that we've done the damn thing. I know a lot of people that sit and say if they didn't have this in their life or they didn't have that in their life, things would have happened for them. But sit back and think about what you do have with what you've done in your life. Because if you can't count on yourself, in order for you to have what you need or to have what you want depends on something else or someone, it's not going to be a good look. So change your mindset and unlearn the hustle and grind mentality. Unlearning that the guilt of slowing down is harmful. Learn how to rest without feeling lazy. And let me tell you something. I'm telling myself again. I've been going to the gym. I've been trying to do like 5 days a week. Before I was doing six, burning myself out. So now I'm at 4 to 5 days a week. And I tell you, when I get to that fifth day and I don't want to go, or I skip that fourth day, I feel like I'm being lazy and I'm not being there or showing up for myself. And I had to sit back and say, Kelly, you don't have to work out 6 days a week, 7 days a week to make up for lost times or to get where you want to be. You are going to get there regardless, because you know why? You're showing up. So let me share with you some soft life affirmations here to allow you to mindset shift and to like kind of slow down just a little bit. You know, I do not chase, I attract. And you can, this affirmation is good for a lot of different things, not just a soft life, but a lot of different things, career, personal growth, and things like that. So the next one is, I deserve ease, joy, and abundance. I am allowed to rest without guilt. And that's something that I had to say to myself when it came down to working out. Next up, setting boundaries. We're going to set some boundaries like a queen. Our new concept is going to be boundary stacking, starting small and build up. Okay, we're going to do an energy audit. Now, what is an energy audit? What is draining you? What is taking things from you? Now, certain things we just got to get through and deal with, and then we know it's going to pass. But if we know we have energy blockers in our space, if that's in work, if that's in family, if that's in friends, even if it's just in the everyday life, you have to sit back and you have to identify what drains you versus what nourishes you. And that can even be social media. If you're listening to a podcast, or if you're looking on social media, strolling up TikTok, Instagram, and so forth and so on, even Facebook. I feel like Facebook now, I'm not saying business pages, I'm talking about personal Facebook pages. Seeing what people post is like, it's so crazy. We're never gonna get into Facebook, but anywho, now we're going to talk about different types of boundaries. We can have time boundaries, emotional boundaries, and social boundaries. Time boundaries, saying no to overcommitting. Where I am now in my life, I don't even say yes. I don't even chime in. If somebody tell me, oh yeah, something's going on, this, that, and the third. I'll be, oh, that's gonna be nice. That's gonna be real fun. Because I do not want to commit to something. Now, if I choose to want to go, I'll go on my own. Or if they invite me, I'll let them know, hey, I'm interested, but I don't want to commit. Back in the day when I was like 16, 17, probably even well into my 20s, I used to always say yes to things I know damn well I didn't want to do. But you live and you learn. And I sit back and I'm just like, wow, you've come a long way. Emotional boundaries, not absorbing other people's stress. And that can be hard, especially for someone like me who's an empath. I can take on other people's energy. So I have to be very mindful of who I'm around. If I feel like, okay, they're a little Debbie Downer or whatever it may be, I will not be around them because I know I'm going to take it. I'm going to complain, and I don't want to be a complainer. So I'm very mindful of that. And I have my social boundaries, distancing from draining relationships, and that can be friendships, old and new, family, near and far, co-workers. Sometimes co-workers, you can't avoid them, but you can always say, hey, Susie, I can't be talking like this. I got to get to work. You have to just put the energy out there because you don't want certain things. And here are some scripts for setting boundaries, and setting them gracefully, when you're talking to people and so forth and so on. So forth and so on. It's I love you, but I can't take that on right now. And you don't have to say I love you. You can just say, look, I can't take this on right now. That doesn't work for me, but here's an alternative, because people try to push things on you to say, what you should do or something like that, or what they want to do and they want you to be a part of it. And you can say, no, I don't want to, but here is something that we can do or something that I can do. You don't have to if you don't want to. Or I need to prioritize myself right now. And I say that a lot, even at my household. I will let my family know I have to prioritize myself right now. Like, I have one more major event that's going on right now. And once that's over, come May, June, July, August, September, October, and so forth and so on, it's all about Kelly. The top of my year is always heavy and always thick. Always. But the remaining of this year is going to be about me. When to walk away. When you have to when you recognize in toxic cycles and friendships and work and family. I have I have two family members that I had to walk away from because it was just so toxic. The cycles, the back and forth, the good moments, the bad moments. And, even when it comes to friendships, even if it's your girlfriends or if it's male friends or if it's friends that you may have had from, whatever. No one went to walk away and not walk away in a bad way. Just walk away, you know. We adults and there's no bad blood or anything, when you see, you speak or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like when you feel like you're being drained or you feel it's just not conducive to what you have and what you want going on in your life at the moment, it's okay. I look at it like this. I pick my friends. And I don't mean the friends that you grew up with from high school, elementary, and middle school. Those are friends by default, or friends you may have grew up in the same neighborhood with, because those are friends based upon environment. Those are friends that, by default. That's the word I'm going to use right now for lack of better words. Do I still have friends from my past? Absolutely. Friends from high school, middle school, where I used to live at. Yes, because you built relationships, and no matter what goes on, those relationships do stick. They may not be the frequent every day, but they do stick. But I always say, I don't get to pick my family, but I can pick my friends. And where I am in my life right now, if you are a family member and you are really making my world not peaceful, and I'm not making your world peaceful, I'm walking away, and I hope you do the same. You know what I mean? Just like that. Because life is too short. I'm at a time in my life, I have more years behind me than I do in front of me. So there's no, oh, just because we blood thicker than what. I have people that aren't blood that will look out for me harder than I don't know what, than a family member would. So, ain't saying all of that. Let's focus on the art of slowing down, living life with ease, and and pleasure. Let's see how that go. We're gonna have our new concept is gonna be flow over force, letting things come to you naturally, and I had to take a break, y'all. I'm thinking about things coming to you naturally. I look at how I got this promotion. I look at how I'm just letting things flow in my life, and how I have relationships in my life that may have failed. Some may have been down, and time had to take its course, and then we had to talk about it, speak about it, and then it brought it stronger. Sometimes letting things happen naturally and living life with ease and not worrying about it. Yes, we are all worry warriors to an extent, but sitting back and just letting things just flow over force, it's a different feel. It's a different feel. I have a friend right now that our friendship ended, and it bothered me. It still bothers me. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't bother me, because then I'll be sitting here lying. But I do wish that things were different. I do feel maybe another conversation needs to be had, and that's just me being mature at this point. But we'll see how it all pans out. But I'm just saying, letting things come to you naturally, letting things come to you where you're living your best life. Sometimes we feel we have to be doing so much in order to have the life that we really want. And being happy with the life that you have. I wish in my 20s and in my 30s that I could appreciate me. I create my own soft life. No one creates that life for you. Because if you depend on somebody else to make a soft life for you, if that person happens to go, however that go may look, you know, that person maintained that for you. So you have to maintain that life for yourself. You start out like that, and then whomever else comes into your life, if it's family, friends, a romantic partner, or whatever that might be, or even in the workplace, they see how you treat yourself, and then they will follow through. Trust me, I had to learn the hard way. So, talking about romanticize your life. Romanticize your daily life. If you're not following me on YouTube, go ahead and follow me on YouTube. That's I am Kelly B. And it's spelled through IAMKELIB. Ladies, I recently vlogged my day, and I just want to spend some time with myself. And it was simple. I went out, of course, I did some things that I like to do. I don't know if you guys know, but I do like cars, okay? I like cars, and I don't like a lot of things. I do like makeup. Makeup is probably my first, but my second is cars. I'm not a fashion girly by any means, but I'm not into like home decor like that. So, I only have two things that I'm really into, which is really makeup and cars. So, and I don't mean cars like, okay, I'm going to car shows and things like that. Just me having a nice car. And that's what I mean. Have I been a few car shows? Absolutely, throughout my years. But you find things that you like to do. So I did a day in a life vlog where I just went out looking at some cars. I took myself out to eat, and then I wound up just spending time with myself, writing out some journals in my phone, and taking time for myself, romanticizing my life on a daily. And it's just making simple moments. It doesn't have to be like luxurious or anything like that. It could just be like morning coffee, slow walks, deep breathing. And I mentioned that in previous episodes. It doesn't have to be the most outlandish thing. You can just sit in your room, make a space for yourself, sit in the most coziest chair that you have in your place, get you a blanket and just romanticize that moment, if that makes any sense. It could be the simple things. It doesn't have to cost you any money. But if you want to, take yourself on a solo date. Treat yourself the way you want to be treated. Even if you're in a relationship, even if you're married, if you've been married for 20, 30 years, pour into yourself. I know someone may say, oh, my husband does that for me, or my significant other does that for me. Yes, that is amazing. But it hits different when you can literally make yourself happy. It hits different, in my opinion. You know, I'm only speaking from my opinion. Okay. And the no rush rule. Okay. And I've been let this go. I didn't even know there was a thing called the no rush rule. But I used to be such a rushy person. I would get up in the morning, eyes barely open, slam my feet to the floor, going in the bathroom, brushing teeth, showering, throwing on clothes. I mean, sometimes not even caring. I mean, I'm looking put together, but I could have did a little bit better. And getting my daughter up, getting my daughters up at during that time when they both were, younger and needed me. And just rushing, going to work, getting them going because now you trying to get them to where they got to be. You trying to get to work. And before you know it, you rushing, yelling, doing other things. You messing their day up. You messing your day up. Girl, no more. We ain't rushing. I know easier said than done. And I know I'm at a place where I don't have small children anymore. So I am really seeing the slowness of how I am really slowing my life down and what that might look like. This, how to stop rushing through life and embrace being present. And I did that when I took myself out, you know, being present with myself and slowing down and not rushing. And when I get up in the morning, I lay there. I lay there. I don't have curtains in my room. I don't have blinds. The sunlight wakes me up. I know a lot of people have those little, I think they call Nest or Google Nest or something like that, where, or some type of alarm system where it like brighten up the room if the room is dark. I wake up to natural sunlight. Natural sunlight. Um, I don't have any curtains, any blinds. I just wake up and the sun just gets me up. And I lay there. I do not rush. I look out the window. I thank the universe for what I have. I thank myself for the things that I've done for myself. And I sit back and I'm just in awe that I'm at a point in my life where I can rest. I can rest. And I want that for you too. I want that for you. And if you are in a rest moment, because sometimes we go in and out, and we might have to get back into, but if we can just find ways to rest when things get hectic, because sometimes we got to pump it up sometimes, depending on life issues. People might need us and we have to change gears a little bit. But just knowing how to create a daily routine of ease, what that might look like. And I don't mean like, morning routines are morning routines. Evening routines are evening routines. But I mean like a slow down moment. Like say you're working from home, or even if you're at work, you're in the office and you're like, man, I've been hitting these keyboard. I've been hitting this keyboard for some time now. Let me go in the break room and let me go make me some tea. Or let me go in my kitchen and make me some tea. Sit back and think about how you're sipping that slowly and just enjoying the moment. Those are just like little moments that you could just take away from your daily day and just slow down and be present for the moment. Being tech free in the mornings and evenings, giving your mind a break. I'm in a process right now where, you know, it's certain people that I'm following on social media that I had to sit back and say, hey, what am I following you for? You know, we don't align. We don't speak the same, tone. You know, I liked you at one point because maybe that's where I was, but right now I'm not. And maybe I may go back. But if we're going to be on these apps and we're going to be on socials the way that we are, we really need to pick people and listen to people that can literally, genuinely pour into us. Because some of us are not content creators. Some of us are consumers and absorbers of, these apps and these things. So you have to be very mindful. We like a good joke here and there, but we need to get some, those folks who are really pouring in and sharing the good stuff, get to it. Get to it. But take a break if you can. Also, listening to jazz, soul, and calming music. That sets the tone. Having that good instrumental sound in the back. I spoke before about having like the rain sound or like the water sounds in the back. I love that. I like to, if I'm cooking in the kitchen, I'll turn my TV on and I'll turn on like the YouTube channel and I'll just like play like a jazz instrumental just to have that flow going, lighting a candle, just having a peaceful vibe while I'm cooking or just while I'm in my living room, candle going. I got my back door open, got a good breeze coming in, and I'm just enjoying the moment, just enjoying the moment. So we want to attract opportunities without chasing. So soft life is about slowing down and not forcing. Okay. So ladies, I enjoyed this, but before we go, I want to recap. Soft life is about protecting your peace, setting boundaries, slowing down without guilt. You know, I don't want you to feel like you have to be superwoman because you don't. You don't have to be strong mama because you don't. There's a time and a place for everything, but you also got to put yourself first because we can get so lost. And sometimes we don't know it, but when we being so strong, superwoman, we can see it. And we don't want that. We want you to be nice and soft, not just in your life, but your appearance and everything. Okay. And we'll get into that later about that. But if you enjoyed and it was a good message to you, go ahead and follow. I want to encourage engagement for us and follow the podcast, leave a review. I would love for that. Join the Instagram, the Facebook community, and share the episode if you truly, truly enjoyed it. And I will catch you in the next episode.